So this week, the Action 2 got a firmware update, and many of us are hoping that DJI have improved the overheating issue, at least a little. There's no mention in the release notes about it, but maybe they've just quietly rolled out a fix. Let's test it and see. So, starting from cold each time, I'm keeping everything the same as in my original test on the old firmware. First of all, 4K 120. The old firmware got 4 minutes and 4 seconds. The new firmware got 4 minutes and 21 seconds. Now, 4K 60. The old firmware got 5 minutes and 59 seconds. The new firmware got 6 minutes and 5 seconds. 4K 30. I didn't test this configuration last time, but let's test it on the new firmware anyway. "10 minutes and 37 seconds. 2.7K 60. The old firmware got 6 minutes and 44 seconds. The new firmware got 6 minutes and 49 seconds. Finally, 2.7K 30. Again, I didn't test this configuration last time, but I want to test it this time. Let's see how it does. "13 minutes and 32 seconds. So that's the tests. Keep in mind that having the camera sitting on a table like this with no airflow isn't how it would typically be used. It's just a way for me to keep the conditions consistent every time I do this test, so I can get reliable figures that can be compared from camera to camera. If I did the test outside, especially now that it's winter, the camera would record for significantly longer, but there are too many variables that would change the outcome, like wind speed, temperature, direct sunlight, and so on, so it would be difficult to fairly compare multiple cameras or different firmware versions. And with that said, what can we determine from these results? Well, given that the numbers are so close between the old firmware and the new firmware, only differing by several seconds, I think it's reasonable to assume that there has been no change to the heat management included in this firmware update. So if you were hoping that DJI did what GoPro did with the Hero 10, where they rolled out a fix for the overheating that made a significant difference, this particular update isn't it. Maybe next time. Fingers crossed. If this was helpful, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you want to see my original overheating test where I compare it with 3 other cameras, there's a link in the description. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.